Comment, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. You may notice the newly lipsticked Vicky Poole there in the virtual studio, whose hair is finally growing back to normal length.
It's coming. Gareth still hasn't forgiven me for cutting 6 inches off my hair.
No, I don't like it. It didn't look like Vicky Poole anymore. Looked like a stranger. Sorry, I'm autistic and I don't like change. And suddenly there's a different person there. Anyway, so look, here she is, marvelous, from Tender Response, as ever. And we often talk about different aspects of tendering. Today is no different. But this is, I'm going to be very careful here. This is semi-political. Even more semi-political, because Vicky may not have publicised it, but she is a councillor. She's an elected member of the body politic. And what that means, of course, she's got a vested interest, but or rather a vested direction, if you sort of mean. But the question today is, how does the impact of a change in party leadership, and it should be noted she's not part of either of the two variations of Conservatives that are currently in power, how does that leadership impact procurement?
Well, that's an excellent question, Gareth. So
I'm glad I thought it up there just on the spur of the moment. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, okay. So I do wear red lippy. I'm not Labour, and I'm wearing a blue top, and I'm not a Tory. I'm an elected Liberal Democrat to West Berkshire, which is why it's the only council that I will not support anybody in responding to a bid to, because it's pure conflict of interest.
You see, he's actually got ethics. I know a politician has got ethics. Oh.
I know that you see. I'm an applied mathematician by training, and we always say that you only need one case to disprove a rule. So people say that that politicians don't have morals. I'm the exception. That there is one. That there is at least one out there who can prove the point. So yes. So how does party policies or how does a change in political leadership of a council or government affect policies? Quite largely, actually. So
really?
you got
I thought procurement is parochial and specifically down to the specific location, particular location, and interests of the company doing that procurement, or in your case, the local government doing that procurement, or the local council, or wherever it is. It's got to be parochial. It's got to be defined by its geographical location, surely, not by a political party.
It is defined by location. It is influenced by a political party. And I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Oh, alrighty. So in 2011, when we're casting our mind back, Gareth, to when we first met, there was a coalition government in place.
I was handsome and young and thin back then. It's a long time ago. Go on, carry on.
There was a coalition government in place, and during that coalition, several things came to fruition, including impacts to procurement. So one of the impacts that was done on procurement was a statement to say that we're all going to be carbon neutral by a particular date, and all of the companies supplying public sector will have to have carbon reduction plans and carbon reduction reporting since 2030. So, of course, we're now approaching 2030. So these are now things that are now starting to come into place. So that's the general guidance. That's what central government do. So these are the MPs. And then locally within councils, there is an instruction on what considerations are then taken into a tender. So what does that mean? Put that into English, Vic. So using the same example regarding sustainability and carbon reductions, every company now who's responding to public sector contracts has to have a carbon reduction plan. So that is a tick box exercise, tick. And that's done on the standard questionnaire documentation. You then get a qualitative written response. Now, depending on how high or low or wherever the preference is for that council or what those councillors got elected on, you will find that sustainability practice is high on the agenda and therefore has a higher percentage on the scoring, or it is low and therefore has a lower percentage on the scoring. So to give you an example of how that tracks, you could have a party that is very, very sustainably minded. They're looking for carbon neutrality, carbon offsetting. They want to have lots of social value engagement. They're gonna be welcoming and enacting the Procurement Act 2023, where it says that up to 25% of your scoring for your qualitative responses can be attributed to social value and sustainability. That's 3 questions worth 25%. So if you know,
that's a big chunk from 3 questions.
It's a huge chunk. And that could be, say, for example, that could be, so conservative governments and conservative parties generally avoid change because they conserve, they protect, they kind of keep the same. Very much like you and I, Gareth, we don't like change.
No.
Yeah. So
but I'm not a conservative.
Each to their own, Gareth. Each to their own. In fact, the leader of the Conservatives of West Berkshire lives in my ward. So, I am proud to represent him as a ward member. So
I'm sure you are.
Each to their own. Yes. Each to their own. Anyways, so Conservatives generally tend to conserve. They look at best value, but it's more important for them to protect what they have. And typically, those councils generally tend to re-award contracts to the same suppliers, unless those suppliers have either changed significantly or they need a dramatic change in service. For example, earlier this year, we've seen a lot of the NHS come out for their fleet vehicles. And they're being awarded to electric providers because their existing provider couldn't offer them electric vehicles.
Wow!
So we've seen that shift, alrighty, and that's probably because the well-being boards, the people who are responsible for the funding of those vehicles, have elected party members. I don't know this for definite, but it is likely that the instruction has been to kind of go down a more sustainable route, and that has forced the procurement to push it out.
I have to say, sustainability has been the byword in the last couple of years, and certainly in all the podcasts we've been doing, every other one has a sustainability element to it.
Yeah.
So I mean, is it an instruction or is it a recommendation?
It's both. It's both. So it's depending on the size.
All I can hear is screeching around. Are you moving the microphone?
Sorry, no, I'm fiddling with my bobble, and I didn't realize my microphone was there. Apologies. I will put my fiddler down. There we go.
I got mine. This is my fiddler. I do that all the time. So yeah, I'm going to get you one of them. You can do that instead. It makes less noise. But carry on. Yes, right. Sustainability, whether it's a recommendation or an instruction.
So, but very quickly, Gareth, from someone who's neurodiverse to someone else who's neurodiverse, having something with holes in it would drive me insane.
Well, it's not. They're not really holes. They're planes. It's a series of 3D printed things. It's quite interesting.
No, it would drive me insane. I'd be in sensory overload. So going back to the point, when you have a mandate or a push or a significant shift, it influences how procurements are impacted. And another good one that comes up quite a lot is about social value. So you'll find some councils where they have a particular a demographic of area. So say, for example, Central London. So there's a lot of councils in London. And this is true for a lot of councils in London. They have high unemployment under the age of 25. They might have low levels of education of those people under 25. So they leave school. This is called the low attainment unit. You're going to have a high proportion of homeless, and you're going to have a lot of unskilled, untrained labour. So a lot of the social value for London councils is about combating homelessness, funding places to sleep when it's cold, because that's something that the councils have to pay for, and providing work experiences. And the crazy thing is, all of this material is available publicly if you know where to look to find it.
I think there's a general as a general allegory, is pretty much everything that you need to find about anything is out there somewhere. But the trick is, how do you look? And that's where specialists come in, because we know where to look.
Well, exactly. So this is one of the things that we do here at Tender Response. And in fact, I've got a webinar coming up on the 9th of October where we actually have a sustainability panel conversation about what's changing in public sector, what's been the change so far, what we're seeing coming up next. And I'm even hosting a specific webinar on social value the following week. Can't remember the date. I think I'm going to go for like the 15th of October, where I'm going to be looking at 3 different styles of social value questions and showing people how to respond to them. There are going to be specifics on the information that will be used for those particular cases, and these are live questions. So these are questions coming from other bids, so people can see how you would field that response to those questions. How you find that information will be different to every council and every public body, but the process will be the same.
It's almost like you would want to put this onto your resources page on your website.
Absolutely. So if you were to hit up tenresponse.co.uk/resources, one of the toggles in there will be for webinars. So in the first webinar that you see that's coming up, because it is the next webinar, it's in 2 weeks' time. On Wednesday, the 9th of October, is our public sector sales kickoff. And it's 2 hours. So grab a cup of coffee and a packet of biscuits. You are going to need them. I know. We're going to talk about everything from public sector sales from a former public sector procurement officer. So they're going to tell you all of the things that they saw when they worked in public sector. And
2 hours?
2 hours. It's not 2 hours about that one conversation. There's lots of conversations. Okay. I'm not entirely sure I could keep a conversation going by myself for 2 hours. And
yes, you could. Yes, you could.
So we're going to have that conversation, and then we're going to have a conversation about tender analytics. You know, the power to predict. You know what market's coming up. If your next contracts that are for your industry are in Birmingham and you're marketing to London, you know, you're going to miss them. So you get to see that. You could also have a little bit of sneak peek and see where your competitors' contracts are. Just saying. Then from there, we're going to be talking about cyber. Cyber security is a real big thing. Councils are targeted every single day for their data. And if you are a supplier to public sector, you're going to be targeted as well. You need to know what your obligations are and your restrictions. So we're going to be hearing from Chris Windley, who is the guy that actually led the team on the Cyber Essentials process accreditation with GCHQ. So he's speaking with us. And then we have our social value panel. There's speakers, there's panels, there's demonstrations. It's 2 hours. It's whistle stop. It's all the information that you need to know at a high level. And then over the course of the next 2 weeks, there's lots of other webinars that are going to fall after, so that if you want more information, you can sign up. It's all free. There's no charges. All we ask is at the end, give us some feedback. If you liked it, you liked it. And if you didn't, tell us why.
So how's that looking for bookings? Are people taking advantage of it?
Yeah, it's going quite well, actually. So we've got an entire bid team who's joining from a supplier, which is nice. We've got 13 members of there that are all looking to look at different fields, different areas, which is kind of nice. Although I think there might be a competitor, so I might have to boot them out. I'll do a little bit of research.
I'll tell you what, though. If you've got all this information in one place, it's probably you can ask questions. I mean, it's rare that you get the opportunity to put your questions in there. So if you've got burning questions there, this is probably a good place to be. But also, if you've got, hang on, I'm doing a segue here. If you've got burning questions, what you might want to do is use the tender response hotline to see what I did.
I see what you did. Like it.
Thank you. And perhaps through a WhatsApp message asking further questions, or you can give a call. It's woman and man from time to time by all sorts of people who will make sure that you get a sensible response by the end of that working day. I mean, you do also do a discovery call at no cost to find out what it is that can be achieved and talk about process. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So just to respond to a couple of those bits there, Gareth. Yes, the WhatsApp number is womaned. woman and man on a regular basis. We do try to turn things around in 24 hours. Sometimes we slip depending on who's doing what tenders, because obviously tenders come first. I'm sure everyone will appreciate that. For the questions of the panelists and the speakers at the sales kickoff, there is a way that you can ask a question to our speakers, and if you're not able to attend on the day, submit your question and you receive a written response from our speakers.
You can't say fairer than that.
So you can either drop me a message, I'll send you the link. I have been posting it on my LinkedIn stream, so you can click through to it there. And that's cool there. For our discovery call, we actually do a completely free tender search. So regardless of your industry, we'll sit down with you. Someone came to me the other day and said, I'm a stonemason. I'm not entirely sure what contracts that you're going to find for me. You know what? There are 5 stonemasonry contracts currently open in the UK, because some councils are responsible for the plaques at their crematoriums. So they have to have stones.
And I suppose rebuilding churches when they fall apart, that's bound to be a thing.
Well, technically, that's done through the diocese. And they will have their own, because it's not public money, it's church money, that they have their own procurement process. Although, interestingly, you did remind me there, Gareth, thank you. National England or Heritage England and those charities, those will come through public sector procurements.
There you go.
Agreements and dynamic purchasing systems. Frameworks are typically closed. You can't join those once they're live. In DPS, dynamic purchasing systems, you can join them freely throughout the term.
I know there's a cathedral I visited not that long ago where a modern stonemason had replaced a few stones, and according to the old fashioned, they used to sign the corner of the stones so that when they counted them up, they could do what they chose for. He didn't have his own sign, so he ended up putting the mark of Zorro on them. I'm not even joking. So we then spent the next half an hour looking for all the marks of Zorro. We'd found a few as well.
Yeah, you have to.
Absolutely. Look, thank you once again. As you know, dear sweet Vicky Poole is always a font of all knowledge to do with tendering. We're here every week to jump in there. And remember, the best way to get in touch with either through this WhatsApp number or through that website, do have a look through the resources. There's some good stuff there, but you can also book some time with her. And don't forget to look her up on LinkedIn. She's Vicky Poole, Tender Response. She'll pop straight up like the original Bad Penny. So until the next time, I want all of you just to remember, tomorrow's another day. No matter how depressing today is, you've got a fresh start tomorrow morning. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for those stars and try and look after that mental health. Until next time, goodbye.